When The Batman released in 2022, it didn't feel like another superhero movie. It felt like a risk. Matt Reeves gave us a Gotham that was soaked in rain, guilt, and obsession. A Batman who wasn't polished or heroic, but broken, isolated, and unsure of who he was becoming. It worked not because it was loud, but because it was restrained. Personal. Uncomfortable. That's why the recent report that Sebastian Stan is in talks to join The Batman Part 2 has sparked such an emotional reaction, not excitement, but anxiety. Because this sequel has something incredibly fragile to protect. The power of disappearing into Gotham. One of the quiet triumphs of The Batman was how its cast disappeared into the world. Robert Pattinson wasn't the Twilight guy. Colin Farrell wasn't the famous character actor. Paul Dano wasn't playing a villain, he was embodying a wound. These performances worked because they didn't remind us of other franchises, other roles, or other cinematic universes. They belonged only to Gotham. Sebastian Stan, for all his talent, doesn't disappear that way. For millions of viewers, he is Bucky Barnes. A Marvel icon shaped by a decade of blockbuster storytelling. That association isn't shallow, it's deeply embedded. When someone like Stan appears on screen, audiences don't meet the character first. They meet the actor. And in a film as immersive and psychological as The Batman, that matters more than people want to admit. When familiar faces break emotional reality. Matt Reeves' Gotham is built on emotional realism. It asks us to believe in Bruce Wayne's trauma. In the city's rot. In the idea that violence leaves scars instead of quips. Casting choices are part of that illusion. When you introduce a performer whose screen identity is already well defined, you risk cracking that emotional reality. Imagine watching a tense interrogation scene, rain dripping, silence heavy, and instead of feeling dread, a part of your brain goes, "That's Sebastian Stan." That small mental disconnect is all it takes to weaken a film like this. The Batman doesn't survive on spectacle. It survives on mood. The problem with emotional redundancy. Another concern is more subtle but just as important. Sebastian Stan excels at portraying characters who are traumatized, quietly angry, emotionally fractured, haunted by the past. That's not a criticism of his acting. It's a recognition of his type. But that's already Batman. If Stan is cast as a villain or morally complex antagonist, the danger is emotional redundancy. Two characters reflecting the same pain, the same internal conflict, the same brooding intensity. Great stories thrive on contrast. Paul Dano's Riddler wasn't effective because he mirrored Batman, he challenged him in disturbing, ideological ways. The Penguin worked because he was vulgar, loud, and grotesque, the opposite of Bruce Wayne's restraint. Another tortured soul staring into the abyss doesn't raise the stakes. It flattens them. Gotham should feel strange, not comfortable. One of the boldest choices Reeves made was embracing discomfort. Colin Farrell was nearly unrecognizable. Dano's performance was unsettling rather than cool. Nothing about these characters felt designed for fan approval. Casting Sebastian Stan feels safe. It feels like a choice driven by familiarity rather than transformation. By recognition rather than reinvention. And the Batman shouldn't be safe. This is a universe that works best when it leans into the strange, the grotesque, the unexpected, actors who make us uneasy rather than comfortable. The risk of listening too closely to the internet. There's also a growing fear that modern casting is being shaped by online hype rather than artistic necessity. Sebastian Stan has been fan cast in everything for years. Some of that comes from admiration. Some of it comes from repetition. But fan casting doesn't always equal the right choice. History is filled with examples where popular picks led to disappointing results not because the actors were bad, but because the casting lacked imagination. The Batman succeeded precisely because it ignored that noise. What's really at stake? This isn't about hating Sebastian Stan. It isn't about Marvel versus DC. And it isn't about gatekeeping Gotham. It's about protecting a film that dared to be intimate in a genre obsessed with scale. The Batman Part 2 has the chance to deepen Bruce Wayne's journey, explore the consequences of fear, and push Gotham further into moral darkness. But that only works if every creative choice serves the world, not the algorithm. Because once Gotham starts feeling like a collection of famous faces, it stops feeling real. And once it stops feeling real, it stops being special. Final thought. Matt Reeves proved he understands Batman better than most filmmakers ever have. So the hope isn't that Sebastian Stan won't be cast, it's that if he is, it's because the role truly demands him, not his name. Because the Batman doesn't need stars. It needs shadows. Subscribe to SuperHeroPro on YouTube as well. Thanks.